You're listening to The Unsafe Bible with Pastor Ken Brown.
Everything was supplied for this relationship to make it a long-term relationship that would go the distance. But at the end of verse 2, the shoe drops, and we have love gone wrong. You can almost hear the key going to a minor key at this point, you know. Those who are listening can clearly identify the picture of a poor grape harvest being a picture of unrequited love.
Isaiah was a prophet and a man of God bringing a message to repent from their sin. And God's children didn't listen to him. He brought to them a song, as Pastor Ken's going to show you today, and sang it for them. What the people liked at first, however, turned out to be telling the story of their rejection of God's love and their pursuit of sin instead. They rejected God once again, after He so graciously had been blessing them and supplying all their needs out of His great love for them. Well, let's join Pastor Ken in the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, as he begins his message, The Artist Formerly Known as Isaiah.
Okay, so Isaiah 5 is a song, okay? So we're going to be talking about the artist formerly known as Isaiah. This is a top 40 hit. He does it as a song to get people to remember what he's talking about, just like Moses did. And his song is actually kind of a commentary on Moses' song, anyway. Some background, way back in the dim reaches of history, I actually majored in music education and Bible at the same time, and was interning as a minister of music in several churches in Southern California. Figure that one out. I've seen music where you see people wiped out because of the music. They want to be saved. It breaks down the walls. It does things. And I've also seen it because I remember playing one time with the orchestra, and we were background music for a meeting. And I've never been ignored like that. It was just amazing how we were elevator music, you know, and it was really terrible. I didn't like it. What music can do, though, done correctly, it can usher us right into the throne room of God. And we're there. We're in front of the Lord. We're worshiping Him, and we're praising Him. The right song will bring memories of something that we've done in the past, or it'll trigger something that we need to change now. Music's powerful. It really is. And it can be used to talk to us, especially when it's something tough to be talking about. And that's why it was used as protest music a lot, too. People could protest about something, but it sounds nice. And it can reach hardened hearts, which is why Isaiah is going to use it. And he's going to give us a practical demonstration of how to use music to reach someone who really, really doesn't want to listen to anything that he has to say. Now remember, when Isaiah is ministering at this point, he is wearing sackcloth all the time. That's what he wears. Kind of itchy if you're in Israel, but that's what he wears. And here in chapter 5, this is the point we're at, where he's going to start kind of tying all the pieces together for what we've covered in the first 4 chapters. Now remember, chapter 1 was an indictment. It was an introduction. It kind of gave us the why we're here. What is the reason for his ministry? Chapters 2 to 4, we saw the contrast between the past, present, the future, and the ultimate end state in the millennium. I mean, he covered a lot in that. And then he comes back and he talks about the present day and what the problems are in the present day. So here in chapter 5, now we're going to deal with that current reality that actually impacts both the north kingdom and the south kingdom. And as he's doing this song, Uzziah is still the king. It's his last year. He has not died yet. But Uzziah is probably still in power at this point. So this is dealing with the current state, and it's going to be a serious focus on Judah, the southern kingdom. Now, it's a parable. It's crafted like a song. Jesus may have actually referenced this same song when he did a talk about vineyards. But it's more than just an agricultural destruction song, okay? If you've read it, you say, well, that sounds like a bad day in the field. It's more to it. Uzziah's on the throne. Conditions are the same as we've studied in the last 4 chapters. There's no change. Everybody's got 2 chariots in the garage. They've got a great military power. They've got money. They've got everything that they need. They've got slaves. They're building these large houses now because they can afford it. Plus, they're also stealing property from other people. And we'll get into all that. God knows the stubborn hearts that he's communicating with. So does Isaiah. He lives with these people. And he also knows how to communicate in a way, and so does God, that will attract attention and be remembered. So God's going to have him do a song. Okay? The parable was put into a song. This is Matthew Henry talking about this a long time ago, so that it might be moving and affecting, so people listening to it would be moved emotionally by the content of the music. And it's also a way to remember something and transmit it later. Now, I don't know if he starts off with a real good bass riff or, some screaming guitars or something like that. But in this song, what we're going to see is this is God. He's going to be explaining what he's done for his people and how they're responding to his loving care. They aren't. God's done all these things for the people, and the people are ignoring him. Now, in the Jewish culture of Isaiah's time, the same way that we do language today, they use similes, they use metaphors. Isaiah is the master in word games and word play. We'll see that in this section. He'll use one word and he'll use another one that sounds almost like it, but they have 2 different meanings, and he does that all the time. They like good stories. We do too. If it's a good story, why haven't you made a movie of that yet? But they like good stories. They enjoyed music too. They like to hear a good tune every now and then. Some of the common themes that are showing up in this particular song they're going to be familiar with. But for us, we have interpretive problems because how many grew up as a Jew in Israel in 700 BC? Not very many of us, right? You don't remember. Yeah, probably. So this gives us some interpretive difficulties. So we have to look at other things to kind of say, well, what did this mean to a Jew who's hearing it? And how would they react? So that's part of our joy as we search the scriptures, is to kind of dig through this and kind of look at it the same way that they would look at it and find out what the true sense of what's being said. So saying that, I want to read through the song first before we dig in. This is Isaiah 5, verses 1 to 7. This is the song. Starts off with him saying, I'd like to sing a song, then he starts singing. Let me sing now for my well-beloved, a song of my beloved concerning his vineyard. And you're going, okay, this is going to be great, an agricultural piece. It's not, but we'll get there. My well-beloved had a vineyard on a fertile hill. He dug it all around, removed its stones, and planted it with the choicest vine. And he built a tower in the middle of it, and also hewed out a wine vat in it. Then he expected to produce good grapes, but it produced only worthless ones. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. Now, what was there to do for my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why, when I expected it to produce good grapes, did it produce worthless ones? So now let me tell you what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it'll be consumed. I will break down its wall, and it'll become trampled ground. I will lay it waste, and it will not be pruned or hoed. But briars and thorns will come up. I will also charge the clouds to rain no rain on it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his delightful plant. Thus he looked for justice, but behold, bloodshed, for righteousness, but behold, a cry of distress. Now, how many of us reading that in the 21st century thinks that this is a song about agricultural problems, not growing grapes? And I mean, it looks like that when you first look at it. And then, of course, Isaiah's put it to music. And if you just leave it at that, and some of the explanation points he adds to it, this probably make a good country song. I don't know who would do it, but let's stop and think like a Jew in 700 BC, if we can try that, okay? Now, remember, there was this book, a rather racy book, written by King Solomon, called the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. And everybody would know it. Everybody would know what's in that book. They would all be familiar with Solomon's most famous pickup line to use whenever you're in downtown Jerusalem, okay? I don't know if this will work today. Probably not. But his pickup line is in Song of Solomon 4, verses 1 and 2. You are beautiful, my darling, beautiful beyond words. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Okay, that's kind of weird. Your hair falls like waves, like a flock of goats winding down the slopes of Gilead. There you go. It gets better. Your teeth are as white as sheep, recently shorn and freshly washed. Your smile's flawless, each tooth matched with its twin. In other words, you got white teeth and you got them all. Trust me, that did not work when I was at Biola, okay? It probably won't work today either, but that's what everyone in Isaiah's audience would be familiar with. They're familiar with the Song of Solomon. They know about it. For the Jew of Isaiah's day, the image when you're singing a song or you're going to do a story of a vineyard is usually the image of one's bride, okay? It's not just agriculture. It could be that, but it's usually a picture of one's bride. This shows up again in the Song of Solomon. The object of Solomon's love makes reference to working in the vineyards, and as a result was unable to take care of herself as she should. And listen to how she says it in Song of Solomon chapter 1, verse 6. Don't stare at me because I'm dark. The sun has darkened my skin. My brothers were angry with me, and they forced me to care for their vineyards. So I couldn't care for myself, my own vineyard. So she's talking about her own personal appearance and who she is as a vineyard. Now, when Isaiah says he's going to sing a song for his friend and references his vineyard, those in the audience are starting to think, oh, this is a love song. You hear music, I don't know if you hear it like that today. Now everything's just blatant in your face and whatever. But they used to sing songs that would play with words, and it would be a love song, but it sounds like somebody's singing about a lemon tree, or something like that. This is the same kind of a thing. But the immediate thought is that this is a love song. It's a wedding song. And in chapter 8, verses 11 and 12, we see that again. And it becomes a little clearer when there's a comparison. And this is his love speaking. Solomon has a vineyard of Baal Haman, which he leases out to tenant farmers, and each of them pays 1,000 pieces of silver for harvesting its fruit. Now she's speaking. But my vineyard's mine to give, and Solomon doesn't have to pay 1,000 pieces of silver for that. But I will give 200 pieces for those who take care of its vines. So I guess she likes to go to the beauty parlor or something, is what she's talking about. But this is what they're thinking of. When they hear, I'm going to sing a song about my beloved and his vineyard, they're going, oh, this is a love song. They're interested. For the first time, probably in months, they want to hear what he has to say because, I don't know, maybe he's got a guitar and a backup band, He's singing a song, and they're all there listening to him. It's clearly a love song, and there's more than one commentator who says this. It would be perceived by those listening, based on his introduction, that it's a love song in the formal sense. Now, normally they'd expect the person singing to be the bride or the husband of the beloved, but it's okay to sing about somebody else's love, too. Now, as we get on, we'll find out he's actually singing on behalf of Yahweh. But they don't know that at the beginning. They just know he's singing about the beloved, and he's singing about his vineyard, and that's all they know at this point. So as Isaiah begins his song, this is not what the listeners would be thinking. They're thinking not agriculture, they're thinking love song. They're thinking he's singing about his friend's vineyard, or he's singing about his friend's bride. So there's a story here to hear. Why is he singing about his friend's bride unless something went wrong? So immediately there's that question in the back of their heads. The picture provided shows all that his friend has done to take care of and provide for his bride. And we see that here in this section of Scripture. The hook that Isaiah, though, throws into the song under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit is, this is a song of love gone wrong. Okay? That's why I'm saying this would be a good country song. And using a picture that they're familiar with. Again, I think this would be a country song if we were doing it today. So what starts off as a wonderful song about budding love and a wedding being planned and everything being set up for a life together suddenly turns toxic, becomes love lost, and ends with a funeral dirge. Okay, This isn't exactly what we would expect if we were listening to some minstrel singing in the temple, and that's kind of what it is. For the listener of Isaiah, the song starts off in an excellent note, but then veers to something that's unexpected, but he does it in a way to get audience participation, okay? He's going to have the whole audience yelling things and participating with him in what he's saying. This vineyard produces no fruit. In other words, this man's dating gets him nowhere. She rejects him. And then he turns from love to hate and destroys the vineyard. Now, in a Jewish marriage situation, there always is this, as the bridegroom is preparing the home, they're already technically married. So when she says, no, I'm not impressed with this, there has to be a divorce that takes place. So this is a picture that God uses in the scriptures many times. The prophets use it quite a bit. He turns from love to hate, destroys the vineyard. And as you hear that there are other men listening to this, they're going to identify with what's going on. You know, unrequited love. Oh, yeah, I know what that's like. You know, there are going to be some guys who get this. Now, he starts off with the catchphrase that is in the Song of Songs, the well-beloved or my beloved. It's a love song. It clearly is, even though he's got it couched in terms like a grapevine. Again, I think about some of the songs that I've heard on the radio, lemon trees, you know, you can go down the list, all these different things that love has been, you know. So, okay, it can be a grapevine. I get it. That makes sense. We don't know where he's performing. I don't know what the number one venue was in Jerusalem for top 40 music back in 720, 725 BC. Odds are he's in the temple compound, and something's been going on, and now he's singing, and they're all there. They're all listening. So as one would take care in establishing a vineyard, we see here in the context of a love song that the vineyard, the bride, is well cared for, all in the context of a vineyard. So as Isaiah starts off, he's attracted listeners who are not totally clear what they're going to be hearing. They think it's a love song. But this hook is there because it's a love song. And Isaiah is this crazy man that's been walking around in sackcloth, and he's been saying gloom and doom, and now he's singing a love song. Well, I want to hear this. You know, that's what they're saying. So indeed, it is a love song, but it's a love song of Yahweh for his people, the Jews. His wife, that's what the scriptures call them, and the care he has for his people. Now, we see through the care for this bride that there's great pains to prepare a place for the vineyard to ensure the success of wedded bliss and lots of kids. Verse 2, he dug it all around. He removed its stones and planted it with the choicest vines. What he's doing is he's doing everything he can to ensure that where he's building the home, and usually it's back at Dad's place, he's preparing a place. Jesus says that he's preparing a place for us. So, I mean, it's the same imagery. So he's doing everything he can to make sure it's a protected place where his new wife can come in and there's nothing to distract her and they can have lots of babies, and that's a good Jewish marriage. That's what they want. So it says he planted it with the choicest vines. This is going to be a very fertile area because the stones are out. And he built a tower in the middle of it. Now, that's to guard. So he's doing everything he can to protect the relationship, to guard the relationship, to make sure there's nothing in the way of what there is going to be once he finally brings her home to be with him. He says he hews out a wine vat in it. You only put a wine vat in if you're expecting to be working for a long time. This is a long-term relationship we're talking about here. So he's done everything to make sure it's going to go the distance. It's going to last a long time. And then he expected to produce good grapes, but it produced only worthless ones. Now, the vineyard's protected. Anything that would cause issues is gone. And the picture of all the work that we've been talking about in that verse that goes into preparing a proper vineyard to ensure fertility, lots of grapes, is understood by the listener as a picture of those things one would do for their bride in preparing a place for her. Isaiah's audience, no doubt, identifies with both the experience of, they know what it's like if you have a lousy grape harvest, but they also know the disappointing experience of unrequited love. They get that too. So as they're listening, they're being progressively led into this story, and they're beginning to identify with Isaiah's friend against the vineyard, okay, against this woman who's turning away from him. Now, in the world of that time, normally what would happen in a Jewish wedding situation, we've talked about this before, the wedding's arranged, usually when the boy and the girl are young, like 8 or 9. The bridegroom, and then at the appropriate time and after a formal announcement, would then go to his father's house and begin adding on to the house for the bride to breathe. That could be a year, 2 years. It could take some time. So since there is a big family expected, he's going to build a large addition to this house. He's going to really do what needs to be done. The preparation is thorough, and it takes a while. And the picture again is Judah, Israel. How long did it take them? Ezekiel kind of builds on that later, but at this point, this is where Isaiah is. The bridegroom loves his bride, and as he does the work, he is anticipating all the days he's going to spend with her. He's anticipating a long marriage. Everything has been done to ensure a safe, protected place for the vineyard to live in. That's why he's building the tower. A guard tower is what he's talking about. You're building it in the middle so that you could have troops up there to protect the field at night. So he's doing everything he can to protect his bride. And he's going to ensure the fact that there will be a lot of babies. He's looking for the utmost in fertility, same thing that he would do for the vineyard, not anything different. But everything was supplied for this relationship to make it a long-term relationship that would go the distance. But at the end of verse 2, the shoe drops, and we have love gone wrong. You can almost hear the key going to a minor key at this point, Those who are listening can clearly identify the picture of a poor grape harvest being a picture of unrequited love. Now again, I wouldn't suggest that you use this today as an example. I'm still struggling with the Lemon Tree song, okay? Which I heard again on the radio just the other day. But it's there. But all of the listeners that Isaiah has around him hearing this, they're fully in. They get what he's singing. He's using this picture. He's talking, it's a love song. He's talking about his friend who has this woman that this guy did everything for, and she wants nothing to do with him. So it's kind of like, now what do you do? What happens? Those who are listening identifies the picture of the poor grape harvest. They know, they're in. They see this imagery. If they had ignored his message before, they're not ignoring it now because they understand what that means. Now, I read it in just a few minutes, but if he's singing it as a song, I don't know how long it took. I don't know if he's doing a drum solo in the middle of it or anything else. I have no idea. Verse 3. So in the middle of this song, and everybody understands what's going on, he turns to the audience and sings to them, "And now, inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there to do for my vineyard that I've not done in it? Why, when I expected it to produce good grapes, did it produce worthless ones?" So he switches from third person to first person, and he asks all the members of the audience, what else can I do? And his listeners are shocked because, everything was being built up, that this would be a great marriage and that everything was being done, and she said no. So, they're shocked about that, first of all. They don't hear a lot of music like that. But now they're identifying with this picture of a woman scorning the one, and they all identify themselves in that picture, who had spent so much effort and time to win her.
Because you decided to stay tuned, you've just been a part of the Unsafe Bible with Pastor Ken Brown. Do you know how glad it makes our hearts to know you're investing time in your relationship with Jesus? So much. In fact, would you connect with us and share a little about what's been happening in your life and how this radio ministry has affected you? The unsafebible.com has a space for you to do just that. Go to the Connect tab at the side and then click on the Connect card. Once there, fill out the form, and then we'll be sure to touch base with you. Pastor Ken's message from Isaiah today left me reflecting on my own life and how I treat people. Do I treat them how I want to be treated? Do I give them the cold shoulder when I feel like it? Or do I choose kindness over retaliation? Isaiah was one of the major prophets that confronted some of these common issues we still face today. You don't want to miss any of these teachings. Trust me. If you already have, don't sweat it. We have your bases covered. Just go to theunsafebible.com and click on Media. There you'll find this and other messages to listen to. If Go 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 is your middle name and you can't seem to find a still moment, you can follow us via Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd also like to personally invite you to attend one of our services. Find all the information you need, including directions, at our website. And just in case you've forgotten, it's theunsafebible.com. We hope to meet you soon. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. Come back again for more of the Unsafe Bible.